Due to the graphic nature of this program, listener discretion is advised.
As if gamma accidents, radioactive bug bites, and assorted mutants weren't enough, I have to deal with a spoiled brat who doesn't play well with others and wants to keep all his toys to himself.
Who the hell are you?
Nick Fury, director of S.H.I.E.L.D. I'm here to talk to you about the Avenger Initiative.
Well, what are we avenging?
Whatever the hell we want.
Your podcast will fail.
It's just a coincidence that you were talking about the Jack and Triumph show and I'm here.
Thank you so much for having me on your podcast.
Hey man, this is Kevin Smith, guy who makes all those unlistenable podcasts over at smodcast.com, and you're listening to the Two Strangers, One Podcast. This is podcasting.
You're listening to Two Strangers, One Podcast. Subscribe to us on iTunes or on the Stitcher app for Android devices. Please visit twostrangersonepodcast.net. Now, here's Chris Cologne and Paul Pasquillo.
Well, hello and welcome to Two Strangers, One Podcast. I'm Chris.
I'm Paul.
And here we are gearing up for New York Comic Con. And it's weird because we should have an episode between now and then. But it feels like New York Comic Con is right around the corner. It's 20 days away, Paul. And of course, as usual, we're gearing up. We're getting, since we are press, and you probably still get the emails yourself, because I know Matt gets them also, because we kind of group chat on Facebook, where they're sort of like announcing all the press rooms that are going to be at Comic-Con, so it's sort of like, hey, come check out this, come check out, and in the past, we've gone to the press rooms for, obviously, they seem to like us over at the Warner Brothers animated movies. We seem to get invited to all of them. I might be confusing some with like John Galvo, but I know last year with John Galvo, we went to Practical Jokers, and then in Amazon with the Tick, and what else? I'm trying to think of all the press rooms we've been to. What ones did we go to that year when we went together? I
mean, we've gone to a lot, honestly. I mean, there's so many that we can't even fucking really like.
Yeah. So right now we're in that limbo where people are sending out. They send. It's always somebody from public relations company. So and I'm not going to say exactly what, but let's just say something like Netflix. It's like, oh, here's a show on Netflix and we're doing a press room for it. But then when you write the person back, it's not like they work for Netflix. They work for Netflix's public relations. But I mean, look, it's all, and of course those are the people you need to get in contact with. Those are the people who will invite you to the press room, and if you need passes for this and need passes for that. I've noticed a lot of stuff this year. They're really making use of, it used to be called the Paramount Theater. It was the theater right next door to Madison Square Garden. It's on the same property. And now it's called the Hulu Theater. And there's a lot of cool things going on in the Hulu Theater, but if you Google Maps Jacob Javits Center to the Hulu Theater, one-way walking, it's 20 minutes. And not to mention that you're on Comic-Con, you're on your feet all day. So, I'm glad for them that they're doing a lot of stuff off-site. I'm glad it's gotten that big that things are happening off-site. But it's also, when you're at Jacob Javits Center, you don't want to fucking go anywhere. You want to stay in Jacob Javits Center. Or, maybe go to one event outside or something like that. But it's it's damn near, like the Hulu Theater. They're packing that shit where, I think if, they may have to kick you out after a movie, but if you go back online, and not a movie, but, they're premiering a lot of TV shows, a lot of Warner Brothers stuff, actually, they're doing there, which makes sense because it's a place where people sit and be comfortable. They can only do so much at the main stage and Jacob Javits Center, but, you're getting, and then, there's press releases for the press rooms for you to come and do interviews, and there's some that I don't care about, and I... not to shit on anybody, I'm not going to go, I don't really care about the Travel Channel's Ghost Nation, and interview paranormal investigators, shit like that. I generally, you get the email and it's, and it's nice to get the email. Thank you for thinking about me. But, and then of course that means, they vet the website, and we're actually doing this under the Toonami Faithful, banner. So, the Toonami Faithful actually has, good numbers as opposed to this podcast. But,
yeah. Speaking of numbers, we passed 50,000 followers on Twitter as of Friday.
Ah, nice.
Currently, as we speak, the account is at 50.2 thousand followers. So, yes. There's been a lot of news, so we've grown substantially since that happened.
Oh.
So, yeah.
Send a couple people our way,
Well, I mean, there's some things that me and Chris will be discussing after this podcast, which will all for this podcast. So,
And like when I say gearing up, it is funny, you know, like it's literal gear. One of the good things about my new job is, you know, I kind of, you know, my boss understands what I do. Like I said, my boss was like my best friend in high school, and he understands how important Comic-Con is to me, and I am getting those days off. And I'm like, look, you know, we go every year and we have shitty fucking sound equipment, we have a shitty camera and all this shit. And he's basically like, you know, basically do what you want in advance on your paycheck. Like he goes like, yeah, I'm not giving you any money, but you know, if you want, I'll throw you a couple bucks extra from your paycheck so you can, you know, get ahead of the game. And so like I don't want to say I've been like spending like crazy, but got myself a halfway decent camera. If anybody who follows me on Facebook, it's a video. I mean, it does video and it does beautiful video. But I've been using it I've been posting pictures. So like, I went to Tin Roof, the bar that I like going to, and I posted a bunch of pictures from there. When I picked up my daughter, the other, you know, when I have custody of my daughter on the weekends, you know, I picked her up and, you know, got a lot of nice pictures. And it's funny, like when you have like halfway decent equipment, and it's not like, this is not a professional camera, but it's like really nice for like a consumer. Like this was probably like a top of the line camera about 6 years ago. But I mean, you know, a picture's a picture. It takes really good photos. You know, got ourselves, you know, and of course I don't want to jinx it by talking about it, but you know, got ourselves a nice halfway decent audio setup where, you know, we can hold a microphone and the person we're interviewing can hold a microphone, because, you know, sometimes when you do the interview and you have one microphone and like you're handing it back and forth to the person, or you're reaching over somebody and your arm's like in the way and your arm's across their chest to fucking, you know, that gets a little annoying. So we kind of got a nice little setup now where we have, you know, I'll have a handheld mic, the person we're interviewing will have a handheld mic, and obviously, you know, if we're interviewing 2 or 3 people at a time, they may have to hand off the mic or whatever, or, you know, I'll hand my mic over to somebody if need be. But, you know, it's getting to be a nice little setup. You know, the thing about, and it's not like, you know, at New York Comic Con, everything is so well lit anyway. It's not like I'm going to be taking any artsy, you know, a $3,000 camera or a $300 camera. You know, everything's, you know, super duper halogen lights that they have inside Jacob Javits. But I mean, it records well. You know, I've been playing with it just so when the time comes, you know, I'm not at the last minute like trying to figure out the settings and stuff like that. So when I say gearing up, we are literally gearing up, getting the gear together. You know, going on eBay, you know, you're getting, you know, and of course, you know, being like a gearhead, I kind of get shit like that. You know, I kind of get that from my father, where it's sort of like, you know, when you get into something and you really get into it for a little while, you know, and I need batteries, and I need a shotgun microphone, and I need this, I need that. You know, so I've been going a little crazy, but you know, it's all going for a good cause. It's all going towards Comic-Con, and then of course, you know, you got to buy clothes for Comic-Con. I don't want to wear anything old or something that I've taken pictures in before. You know, it's always a fun excuse when you go to Comic-Con to go and buy some new T-shirts and stuff like that, or new short sleeve shirts and stuff like that, because it's sort of like in Comic-Con you cannot. Once you're inside the actual place, you have to dress comfortable. You have to dress for the heat, because, you know, even though it's October, it's early October in New York City. Yeah, it's chilly outside. Once you're indoors, you know, that's when, you know, you're going to need to take, you know, if you know, it makes no sense to bring a jacket with you. Which reminds me, I mean, I don't know if we got to do it before Comic-Con starts, but, you know, I may need, you know, a 5X.
Did you just burp while you were talking?
No, I didn't burp. Air did come up out of my throat, but it stopped in the back of my throat. But
this is what happens when he drinks an energy drink before the podcast. Jesus Christ.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, you know, back to work and just trying to fucking maintain and, you know, keep the fucking ship afloat over here. And but you know, like before we're doing the podcast, because I'll be honest with you, to our listeners, you know, like my list is pretty sparse this week, because I totally forgot we were recording today. But I mean, we have a lot of stuff to talk about. But I mean, I just it's not the usual dense like 2-page list that I have, but you know, just talking about Comic-Con and the gear, I think I bought one thing off this site. Have you ever heard of Wish.com? I know they do a lot of spam on Facebook, and it's a site, and trust me, this is not an ad at all. It is a site where you can buy cheap Chinese garbage, like shit that you don't need, shit that's totally fucking useless, you know, stuff that's probably 900% likely that it's coming from like a sweatshop or something like that in China, you know. And like sometimes you'll go on eBay and you'll buy something and it's like, well, this is really cheap for the price. And, and it's because it's coming from, and I don't want to say regions of China because, I don't want to sound like I'm being racist, but I'm saying, Zhaotang, China or some shit like that. And so it takes like a month to get here because, it has to leave the warehouse first. And of course, like if you go on YouTube, you watch these Wish.com, a lot of people have made videos about this stuff. And like, once again, if you're buying something simple, like I bought XLR cables. I bought cables that'll go from the microphones to the recorder. So something like that, something simple, you can't fuck that up. There are people who go to Wish.com and like they're buying like graphics card, where the graphics card, they're claiming it's the graphics card that if you went to Best Buy to buy it, it'd be like $400, and you could buy it on Wish.com for like $25. But all these people, a lot of these, and it's funny, that's like that seems to be the big one that people should steer away from is, you go and you buy what's supposed to be $25 for a $400 VGA card or whatever. And it's obviously some fake off-brand, they'll put a sticker on it that says like, NVIDIA, but when you actually hook it up to the computer's like no NVIDIA devices found and shit like that. So stuff like that, obviously you'd want to avoid. And obviously if anything seems way too, out of the realm of possibility, I don't want to say, the first thing I bought, it's this cool looking Spider-Man hoodie, and it looks like the Iron Spider from like Far From Home, and it's a hoodie and it has the design. Now I bought the Chinese version that's supposed to be 5X. Well, of course, it takes like a month to get here, and it turns out Chinese 5X is the equivalent to America's 3X. So like it fits me, but it's not a flattering fit. And the thing is made out of fucking it's made of like knockoff Under Armour material, like that super, it's breathable and stuff like that. And yeah, technically it's a hoodie, but this thing isn't going to keep you warm. I'm saying, like in the picture, it looks like a cool sweater. Look, it looks like, I thought it was a zip up. It's actually a pullover. So it looks like Spider-Man. It looks like the Iron Spider from, Endgame and Far From Home. But the thing came and it is this thin 3X thing that it's like, okay, maybe that'll motivate me to lose weight so I can fit into it. I don't know. It looks, the pattern on it looks cool, and I guess like it's a fall type sweater. It's it's something you can wear now. It's once again, it doesn't fit me per se, but like you could wear it. Like it would be something that'd be cool to wear like to Comic-Con, and then you take off once you get to Comic-Con and throw in your jacket, throw in your book bag or whatever.
Right.
So yeah, it's called Wish.com, and once again, and what was, and there's a bunch of horror stories, but like I said, if you're buying something stupid and simple, yeah, but if you're buying, don't buy a $400, VGA card for your computer, and sometimes you just like, you'll go, I wonder if it has this, I wonder if it has that, and it's all like cheap Chinese electronics and stuff like that. But and it's like, wow, fucking, they used to get an item like $3, and then what's the delivery cost? Another $3. So like you're paying the same amount to ship it that is for like in particular these little things called Arduinos, and it's like little computer setups that like people use for projects and stuff like that. And it's like, an Arduino, in the store costs about $20-$30, the nicer ones. And then, then like they have them on Wish for like $3. But then the shipping is $3. I'm like, I'm paying the same amount of fucking shipping as for the damn device itself. And it takes like a fucking month to get to your house. But, I digress. It's like I said, it's for useless Chinese knockoff crap. So since our last recording, we had the anniversary of September 11th, and not to bring the episode down a bit, but it always kind of bothers me, and it's always so weird how this, like, it's always like this first or second week in September when the weather's really nice. Like, that's one of the weird things, like, I mean, at least in New York City, like, on that particular day, it was blue skies. There wasn't a fucking cloud in the sky. And it's so weird how the beginning of September always kind of has that really quiet cloudless sky. And I was working that day and stuff like that, but it was just sort of like, I don't want to go online because, people's reactions, are all over the place. There's the people who, they get, super patriotic. Oh, they attacked us and we're Americans and Americans will persevere and stuff like that. And that's all good. There's nothing wrong with that. I just find it funny when it's people like here up in Rochester. They get fucking like patriotic, like, dude, Al Qaeda is never coming to Rochester. You know what I'm saying?
No.
But it's like, I gotta say, growing up in New York City during 9/11, I was 3 miles away from the towers when they fell. debris fucking came through my neighborhood. And you would think I'd be like the most fucking flag waving, we gotta fucking, stop this threat. And it's like, one of my closest friends now, one of the guys I hang out with is my friend Salam, this Iraqi kid, and he's a good kid, and and he's Muslim and stuff like that. I went to his wedding. I don't know if we had that since the last episode, but my friend Salam got married. I went to the fucking Muslim center in Henrietta, where I was like probably the only non-Muslim person in the place. And I went to his ceremony. And, you would think that, after 9/11, I'd be like, fuck these people and fuck every Muslim and, burn down every fucking mosque and shit like that. But I'm not. I'm naturally an aggressive person. I'm always very angry and shit like that.
He is.
But, when you think about that day, and you think about, the lives that were affected and the people that died and, from the tragedy of innocent people dying just because they went to work that day, to the tragedy of, the EMS and the firefighters and the police who also died, or the ones that are still alive today but have some sort of, respiratory diseases and stuff like that because they were down in ground zero. And, it's stuff like that. And and I you feel bad, but then it's like, but there's like this weird part of me that doesn't want to I don't want to dwell on it. I don't want to, I don't want to think about the first responders and think about the innocent people that died. And don't be wrong, they deserve our respect and they deserve their moment of silence, stuff like that. But it's also like another part of me is like, we gotta fucking move forward, and it's sort of, and then, not to get into that whole shit, but the whole clusterfuck of, totally useless money-wasting wars that we went to after that, invading Iraq when Iraq had nothing to do with fucking Al-Qaeda, and going into Afghanistan. And it's just shit like that where, what good has come of it? Nothing. And not that anything, but you would think of tragedy. Yeah, of course there was great patriotism, but then then it gets to the point where, there's people that are way too fucking patriotic. Saying and I'm tired of seeing a picture of the World Trade Center with superimposed with a fucking, American eagle in front, and it's like, it's like glowing in the background. It's like, you take patriotism a little too far. You know what I'm saying? I love my country, but it's also,
I think the problem that we run into is, and at least for you and me, we're both, pretty much Democrats. I think of myself as more independent, but you can't change your party, and you can't do that in New York because then you can't vote in the primary. So, did you know that, by the way? Isn't that stupid? Anyways,
that you're not, you can't be independent.
So yeah, if you're an independent, you can vote in an independent primary, but you can't vote in any of the other primaries. So I'm just like, well, I'm just gonna stay a Democrat until they change that law. So, what was I gonna say? So, I don't know. I don't want to go around and you know what I was gonna say. This is what I was gonna say. I'm sorry. I'm losing it right now. I feel like some of these really crazy Trump supporters have kind of tainted what America is. So it's kind of, sometimes it's kind of like you look at the flag now and you're kind of like, I don't know about this right now. But, I still love my country. I feel like our country's been tainted a little bit. And until next year, when hopefully somebody else will take control, and I hope all you fuckers out there vote for a Democrat and get this asshole out of office. Yeah, that's, I really hope that we do that and we get this done, and I can sit there and look at the flag and be like, I'm proud of that again.
Yeah, and then what was the deal with fucking Trump meeting with Taliban leaders in fucking Camp David?
If
that was Barack Obama, I think people would have raided the fucking White House.
So what he was going to do is he was going to bring some of the Taliban leaders to Camp David and negotiate a peace agreement on September 11th. Mm-hmm. And it's not the fact, number one, you shouldn't be bringing terrorists to Camp David. Number two, not even that, but you shouldn't be doing it on September 11th.
Yeah.
So that's why, people were like, wait a minute. Even Republicans are like, wait, you're doing what? Wait. You're going to bring who to Camp David? And you're going to do it on what date? What are you smoking?
Yeah.
What are you doing? I don't get it. I'm just sitting here going, are you really losing your mind? I understand the guy, we kind of talked about this in the last episode. I understand the guy wants to do things to bolster himself so he can get the nomination. He can not get the nomination, but get voted in in the next presidential election. But here's the thing, Chris. We were talking about guns, how if Trump were to vote and make some gun laws, he probably would actually get reelected. Mm-hmm. we're talking about a guy here who is doing everything but that and can't get anything done. Like, you literally got, listen to this shit. You literally got Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer saying, if you pass this bill that the House has brought up, we will literally come to the Rose Garden and stand with you when you sign this bill. Like, you're sitting there going, does it really come to this? like where you have to use that as a carrot to dangle over this guy's head and be like, yeah, we'll be there so we can praise you and tell you how good you are for doing this, even though you should have done this before, fucker. But yeah, we'll be there to praise you.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of gotten to that point where you have to negotiate in trying to massage his ego.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like, it's some of these things, like, Democrats, like, convince him, and then these Republicans are like, no, they're trying to fuck with you. And he doesn't do it. And it's like, if he would do something on gun control, if he would do something on infrastructure, if he would do something on healthcare, if he would do something on one or all three of these before the election, dude, this guy would win fucking election. He could say whatever he wants. He could say, I'm gonna blow up the world, and still get fucking reelected. Like, that's how people are right now. People are like, literally, even Republicans are going, I don't know about this. I mean, the numbers right now are saying that he's under 50% on the economy. So he's in some deep shit right now, dude. Like, people are just like, look, we don't like where you're going with this, and we're going to be done now. So unless you make this economy, as long as you stop fucking with the economy, we might be back in your camp. But you're fucking with the economy, so stop.
Yeah, well, it's like, when he was, okay, like, and I've said this before, like, when he mentioned something about, like, a Space Force, I had admitted, I said, you know what, in theory, that's a good idea. This dummy shouldn't be the one in charge of it, or shouldn't be, even spitballing idea. When he was campaigning, a lot of reporters always said, what are your plans to do with what do you have planned for the Middle East? And he had said, at the time, I don't want to give you my plans, because if I give you my plans, and we're letting the bad guys know what we're going to do, and I don't want to give them that advantage. And once again, in theory, outside of this fucking idiot saying it, that's a brilliant idea. Yeah, I'm not going to tell you what I'm going to do, because if I tell you what I'm going to do, then the bad guys will know what we're planning to do. But like, right. And like meeting with the Taliban at Camp David on September 11th, where like sort of, and of course, mind you, that this magically all happens right after the whole Jeffrey Epstein suicide. But like, there's a slight brilliance to it, where it's sort of like, okay, yeah, we'll meet with the biggest scumbags on the planet and see if maybe we could figure something out. And of course, once again, that's climbing a mountain, with no equipment. I'm saying that you're not right. These guys are entrenched on where they're at. They're on a literal crusade. They're on a literal holy war. It's called the jihad for a reason. Their minds are set to where, we will die, or I have hundreds, if not thousands and hundreds of thousands of people who will die at my command as soon as I tell them what to do. So,
the police are after Chris. Here we go.
There is no negotiating with them. But once again, I will stand back and say, you know what? I get what you're trying to do, but you're not bright enough to pull it off. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
It's like a dog saying, like, one day we're gonna go to the moon. It's Sparky. You have a lot of good intentions, but you don't have the fucking brain power to fucking get a ship up to the moon. So it's just sort of like, I get what he was trying to do, but it's just like, like you said, are you fucking kidding me? And then of all places in the fucking world, Camp David, which is like every president for the past 60, 70 years goes to Camp David, and that's sort of like their, when they're not doing when this asshole isn't fucking golfing in Florida and staying at, like he's purposely making people from the Air Force and should stay at these like shitty hotels that he owns, or he has financial interest in, and it's, I mean, let's not get onto that, but like when this asshole isn't golfing all the time after all the shit he talked about Barack Obama golfing,
in comparison, man, like oh my God, like he went. So I'm going to make this very quick because yes, we don't need to really get into this, but like you remember, George Bush, the last Bush that was in office, W. Bush, yeah. Because what I think it's his father was George Herbert Walker Bush.
Yeah, HW, and then this one was just
W. So it's funny because he used to go on. If you remember, he used to go on vacation a lot too. But it's so funny because I think about back because I used to think that George W. Bush was the worst president that we had. Mm-hmm. Trump has like literally trumped him. That's impossible. Like that is impossible to do that. Like this guy literally was, in my opinion, at one point the worst president, and Trump has literally like blown him out of the water. I mean, he's gone on vacation. What is it? Every single weekend he's pretty much gone to the golf course and fucking done this shit. It's like, dude, that's not how it works.
Yeah.
Like you never saw Obama, you never saw Clinton every single weekend going to a golf course, let alone somewhere where they owned. Like it's just it blows me out of the water. But let's move on to something else that's politics real quick, if you don't mind.
Okay.
And I'll make this kind of quick. Did you see the Democratic debate that just happened a couple days ago?
Yeah, I saw probably the last like 45 minutes because I forgot it was even on, to be honest with you. And I kind of put it on, and I had it on, but I'll be honest with you, like it was on, but I wasn't paying attention. I'll just be honest.
Did you hear about what Castro said to Biden?
Yeah, he said about
he was talking about his age. He basically said like he was just like, did you not even remember what you just said 2 minutes ago?
Oh yeah.
Is what he said, and people were pissed, dude. There was yesterday they were talking on CNN. Fucking one of the people that endorsed him is like, yeah, it's time to start coalescing the party around somebody, so I'm gonna go for Biden now. And I'm just sitting there going, I'm like, oh god, that's so bad for Castro. Like, and it's funny because I switched over to I didn't switch over. I'm looking on my phone. I use this website called realclearpolitics.com, and I suggest everybody uses this because they're pretty much in the middle on everything. Republicans, they post Republican articles, they post Democratic articles, they post independent articles, everything's there. And basically what they do, and this is why like a lot of like CNN uses them to do the average, same thing with I think MSNBC does it. Fox doesn't. Fox might. I think Fox actually may do that too, which is weird. Because they're just completely Republican at this point. But I was looking in Politico, like I was looking at the poll that they did, and he's at like 1%, and I just started laughing because I'm like, yeah, that's what you fucking get. Like, you know, like you can't go after somebody. Like it's okay. I believe it's okay to bring up the point of, well, and you should be asking this of all three of the leading candidates because they're all in their 70s. You know, is age going to be an issue? But here's the problem: you can't go after somebody like that. You can't just sit there and go, oh, you're like hinting at, oh, basically you don't know what you're doing, basically because you're old. Doing that will not get you anywhere. And I feel like Castro's not going to make the next debate, and I hope he doesn't. And I hope he gets knocked out like Gillibrand. Because, you know, that bitch deserved it.
Well, I mean, it's like, you know, all these people, you know, like when a couple months ago you were like, oh, another person's being nominated, another person's nominated, you know, putting themselves up for nomination. And it's like all of these no names are going to fall to the wayside. You know, they're going to play themselves out, or they're going to just run out of money or whatever. And it's like, you know,
let me
don't even give them the fucking time of day because, you know, they're doing it for their own, you know.
I mean, I don't mind. See, here's the thing. I don't mind if, like, how do I put this? I don't mind if, you know, they're trying to go out there and say, I'm different from Biden or Elizabeth Warren or Bernie Sanders based on this. I don't mind if they're doing, but on the flip side of it, I don't like how, like, there's a couple of these candidates. Let me look at the list here. Castro's one, John Delaney's another, Tim Ryan. Fuck Tim Ryan. I just want to like slit his throat and let the blood, take his blood and donate it to a good cause because he's such an asshole. I'm sorry. I had to say it because he pisses me the fuck off. Like these guys are polling at like 1%. Castro was polling at like 2 or 3. Now he's at 1 because he fucked up in this Politico poll. But like you basically have a top 5, maybe 6 or 7 because some of them are tying with like Pete Buttigieg and whatever. The rest of them, like this is what I was talking about early on, Chris, is like we still have 20 candidates for the Democratic nomination, and right now you got 2 of them that are at 0%, and you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 that are polling at 1%. Why the fuck are you still in the race? Yeah. Why the fuck are you wasting people's time? Get the fuck out of the race. Let these other people that are polling higher have a chance, and let's get closer to coalescing around somebody, because the longer that this goes on, Chris, and this has been my fear, we're going to lose to Trump. And by the way, I think it was like a week or two ago, the guy that was the CEO of Starbucks that was possibly thinking about an independent run, and I don't remember what his name is off the top of my head. Mm-hmm. He said he's not running for president now. Bill de Blasio is like, I'm not running for president. I want Trump out. I'm not doing it this time. Mm-hmm. Dude, like, you got, like, people understand what's going on here. You're probably going to have very few, if any, independent nominees going out for the presidency this time because they don't want Trump. That's how bad Trump is, dude. That's how bad Trump is, because they saw what happened to Hillary Clinton, and there is some states, dude, like Pennsylvania and Wisconsin and Michigan, where it was so close. If the independent vote went to Hillary Clinton, she would have won that state. Like, that tells you something, dude. Like, seriously. Like, so what I'm saying is, and this is the biggest thing for me, and again, I'm not going to linger on this, is we need to get these fucking people out. Look, I understand that you guys want to be president. I understand that you want to try to do this, but it's not your time. The one thing I will say, Pete Buttigieg, that man will be president. I'm calling it right now. Sometime in one of these years that the presidency is up for grabs again. That kid, that guy that's around my age, I think I don't remember how old he is. He's around my age. He's between my age and your age at least. God, you're old.
I remember, you got to be at least 35 to be president.
No, it's 32, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think it's 32. But the point is like, that dude right there is going to be president one day. I really like him. I do. Right now, I want Biden because Biden will get the job done. He's got a lot of experience, and I think that man can help us get back to where we need to go, because I think people are progressives in my party, and this is the reason why I really want to be an independent, is because I think there's a lot of people in our party that just don't get that we can't get to the progressive things that you want to do unless we get back to what we were before. And by the way, that's going to be a lot of fucking hard work. You want somebody that has experience to do that. So why not put Biden in the driver's seat? Doesn't mean the man has to be president for 8 years or, whatever. It means that the guy we need somebody to come back in and stabilize things. Mm-hmm. Because if we stabilize things and we get the world back on our page, then we don't have to worry about shit. Yeah. Now we worry about fucking Iran doing shit, or we worry about China doing something, or we worry about North Korea having sex with Trump. I don't know. It's just, I just want that stabilization again, so I can feel safe that I don't feel like somebody's going to come over and fly a plane into a building again. Speaking of September 11th. So, I hope that people smarten up, we get Biden in the driver's seat, and we win this election. And the rest of these candidates that are under the top 10 need to fucking go. Just go.
It's people that are, this is like the campaign for their other future things. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're not, this is an advertising campaign. Like that guy Castro. No. There's no way you and I, we're in upstate New York, and that guy's from California or some shit. Texas or whatever. We would have never known that guy's name if it wasn't for, him putting up a presidential bid.
He was the HUD secretary as part of the Obama administration. So
yeah, but we weren't talking about him. We weren't talking about him a couple years ago. Just saying.
But I know what you're talking about. Here's the thing,
doing something like this is sort of, and even what's his name, Cohen, the president's former lawyer, said that him running for president was an advertising campaign. It was to get his name out there. This was like, and it was also supposed to be that once he gets out of office, he would have enough connections and stuff like that where he could keep himself. Let me
tell you a little story about Castro, because here's what happened. So I believe Castro was the keynote speaker. I believe it was at the last Democratic convention when Hillary Clinton was nominated. Mm-hmm. I don't remember if it was that one or the one before, but I digress. Basically, when somebody does a keynote speech, a lot of the times they go for president. Mm-hmm. And sometimes, like Barack Obama was a keynote speaker, sometimes a lot of the time, that person actually becomes president. So I think his thought process was, well, I did this has happened before, I'm going to go out for president. Problem is that people aren't looking for a Julian Castro. and he's not a unifying character. Cory Booker's a better presidential nominee than him, and I don't even think that he should be even included in the conversation. The point that I'm making is like, you know, is we just. And I'm going to drive this home one more time. Like, if you're polling at 1% or 0% at this point, and you've been doing this since before this last debate, time to get the fuck out. Mm-hmm. Time to get the fuck out. And by the way, I understand that some of you are doing this to get a job with whoever the nominee is. That's what some of these people do. They also do it, as you said, advertising, but not advertising in the sense of literally advertising themselves, but advertising plans that they think the American people should think about. And then some of the American people out there go, well, we're going to push for this. See what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So like Bernie Sanders, for example, is a perfect example. A lot of his ideas have been floating out there now. So, you know, I understand what people are trying to do, but it's time to move on. Okay. We're coming up on another debate. The threshold's at 2%. Some of you are not even most of you aren't gonna even make it. It's time to move on. Time to fucking move on. Okay? And by the way, stop trying to go after the lead candidate when all that's doing is trying to divide our party. Oh, and by the way, you don't win points by going after somebody. I'm sorry, but us in the Democratic Party don't want to see that. That's the point. Okay. So, time to move on. I'm sick of it. Fucking sick. So I've said my piece.
All right, let's talk about let's talk about something that's just as controversial, if not. Have you seen the new Sticks and Stones Dave Chappelle Netflix special?
I've seen bits and pieces of it.
It's gotten people all riled up.
What part was that? Because I saw the what did he call Jussie Smollett? I can't remember.
Oh, Juicy. Yeah, Jussie Smollett. But he was calling him Juicy Smollett. He's that French actor. He kept kind of calling him that French actor.
It was
Juicy
Smollett.
And
that shit was hilarious.
And it's funny because in the last podcast, I had used the first couple minutes of the podcast, and I didn't feel like I was spoiling anything because Netflix actually put out that clip on their official Netflix account on YouTube, him telling a joke like, you know, he asked the audience, you know, guess who I am? Duh. If you do anything, I'm gonna take your career away from you and fuck. And he's like, that's you. That's the audience. You guys are fucking. You guys are the dumb ones that I can't fucking entertain because, you know, if I say one thing wrong, you want to take my fucking career away from me. And so, I mean, obviously, I'm not doing that bit any justice. But the other part that he's getting a lot of heat on is he was talking about like transgender people, and he's like, you know, a person saying that, you know, they feel like a woman trapped in a man's body, and then he does a whole bit where he goes, you know, what if I woke up one day and I felt like I was a Chinese guy trapped in a black guy's body, you know, and he didn't say black guy, he's another word that I'll stay away from, you know, and then he goes, but then he starts doing like a real hardcore Asian accent where, you know, and I'm sort of just, you know, oh no, I feel so bad, I'm born in the wrong body, you know, and, you know, and now also, you know, keep in mind, and not that this gives him a pass or anything like that, you know, Dave Chappelle's wife is Chinese or she's of some Asian derivation. So like some people are saying like, oh, you know, maybe he should get a pass because his wife is Asian. And then, but then the funny thing is, even he himself later on in the special says that his wife hates that bit. You know, but it's sort of, you know, and I get the point, what he's trying to say, you know, that and once again, I'm not saying I agree with him or anything like that, but, you know, that to put yourself in the headspace of one person born in another person's body and how ridiculous it sounds if he says, you know, I felt like I was Chinese born in this, you know, black person's body, you know, and then he starts, you know, emulating a Chinese person the same way, you know, a transgender person would start, you know, a man would start emulating women, you know, make his voice high, you know, tuck his dick between his legs, get his dick cut off, you know, and, you know, get hormones and stuff like that. And once again, I have a transgender member of my family, and I know people who've gone through transition. I'm not trying to see. The problem is that he's making a joke, and unfortunately, we still have plenty of ignorant people out there, you know, that if transgender, you know, they dehumanize. Oh, you're an it, you're a thing, you know. There's jokes, and I haven't seen it yet. But even like as we're recording this, last night was the roast of Alec Baldwin on Comedy Central, and then they had Caitlyn Jenner as one of their presenters, and it's sort of like, you know, the only reason they brought Caitlyn Jenner on there was so people could make fun of her, you know, and it's sort of like, and of course, obviously, you know, look, she obviously, you know, she didn't have to show up. She didn't have to go there. But it's sort of like you're kind of putting the person right in the fucking crosshairs of, you know, of just tons and tons of ridicule, to be, you know, but once again, you know, she didn't have to go, you know, I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people they invited that didn't show up. So it's this, you know, he's making a joke, but we also have to be sensitive to the fact that, you know, there are people out there who get the shit kicked out of them in the streets. Someone, they call them, you know, faggot or whatever, and then beat the shit out of them. You know, people who've grown up, you know, people whose own families have, you know, turned their backs on their children because, like, you know, oh, my kid's not like that, and I have no son and shit like that, you know. And so, you know, and it's not like, you know, it's one of those deals where, you know, you can stand back if you come from a certain point of view, like you laugh, yeah, that's kind of funny, but then it's also, you know, obviously we still live in a world where, you know, transgender people are incredibly marginalized and treated like absolute shit. You know, and then he had another good joke. And once again, you know, if I'm spoiling these jokes, I mean, the special, I literally used the clip for the last episode. People had 2 weeks to watch this, where he goes, that he wanted to say faggot on the Chappelle show on Comedy Central. And that the lady from Standards and Practices came and said, you know, David, you can't say faggot. And he goes, but I could say nigger all the time. And she's like, well, you know, and then she goes, I'm sorry. He goes, oh, I say nigger all the time. I'm sorry. No. He goes, no. All right, I'm fucking up the joke.
He's already
he's like, how come I can't say faggot? And he goes, well, you're not gay. He goes, but I say nigger all the time. You know, and
oh, I heard that joke. Yeah,
and then like, you know, and oh no, he goes, I can say nigger, yeah. And he goes, but I can't say faggot. And she goes, well, because you're not gay. And he goes, you know, well, Karen, I'm not a nigger either. And so it's sort of, you know, it's that weird kind of double standard where, and of course I use those words and I'm in neither, I should not be using those words, but also just in errors free speech, you know, I'm using those words that I'm not trying to put anybody down. I'm not trying to, you know, I'm trying to explain a joke and it's kind of funny, or you can't say the F word because I am an N word, you know, I'm not an N word. You know, kind of the strength of the joke, a lot of the joke's impact comes from the use of such strong language. But I think, you know, he talked about Jesse Smollett, whatever the fuck his name.
Yeah.
You know, then I think, well, and this is my funniest, I think the funniest bit that he did that night was he was talking about abortion, and he goes, you know, women have the right to choose to have an abortion. And he goes, but you know what? If you decide to have the kid, I should be able to have the right not to support that kid. He goes, because you could kill him. I just want to abandon him. He goes, my money, my choice. So I mean, it's one of those deals where obviously it's such an extreme, but it's kind of funny because there's a lot of root in truth. Yeah, you know, for those people who do believe, you know, a fetus is a person, you know, if you let it grow a little bit further and get a little older, you know, maybe the dad shouldn't have to pay for it. If a woman decides to bring it into the world, the father should be allowed to, you know. And of course, you know, I mean, it's a horrible thing to say, and of course, it takes two to tango and everything like that. But I found it kind of funny. It's like, I'm just abandoning him. You want to kill him?
Well, you know. I do think that kind of went a little too far. Mm-hmm. But I mean, it's Dave Chappelle, man. Like, let him say what he wants to say.
Yeah, it's at this point. Yeah, it's like, I mean, it's like, you know, George Carlin. You know, in my opinion, like, you know, if I had a top 5 or whatever, it would be like George Carlin, Richard Pryor, Chris Rock, Dave Chappelle, and actually I think after this last special, Dave Chappelle just pushed Chris Rock out of 3rd place, you know, and let me see, who would I have as number 5? You know, I'm just keep it a top 4, so whatever. You know, I think because those guys, when they're saying stuff that's comedy, but it's also like, it's like timeless. It's like, you know,
yeah,
you could tell that joke 20 years from now. And it's, I mean, like the abortion joke. I mean, obviously, you know, we still live in times where transgendered people are still, you know, persecuted. And it's funny because, I kind of had that in my notes also. On Netflix right now, Eddie Murphy's Delirious is on there. And the first like 20 minutes of Eddie Murphy's Delirious, he says a lot of gay jokes. And of course, when you watch that through today's filter, you know, and anywhere, you know, I don't want gay guys looking at my ass. And there's a whole thing about, you know, what if Mr. T was a faggot? You know, and it's so it's so funny how, you know, that now Eddie Murphy is getting ready to make a resurgence. You know, Netflix has given him like $70 million, and I'm not even exaggerating when I say that, $70 million for you know, to do a comedy special. He has that Dolomite, My Name is Dolomite movie coming out. They're filming Coming to America 2. right now. Before he actually films his Netflix special, he's going to go on tour to kind of like hone his material. And, you know, and a guy of his caliber, you know, yeah, he'll probably have writers working with him and stuff like that. The guy, you know, has always been funny. Yeah, he made a bunch of shitty movies, and you know, but you know, those shitty movies, you know, when he's making Haunted Mansion, and he's making fucking, The Clumps, you know, when he's making, you know, and making Nutty Professor 2 and shit like that. Yes, those are shitty movies, but you know what? That's a fucking paycheck. You know, when he's making Meet Dave, it's a fucking paycheck. He's smart enough now where he's coming back to his roots. He's going to do comedy, but it's so funny that Dave Chappelle, when Dave Chappelle's getting in trouble for talking about transgender people, and it's very, you know, but back in the day, Eddie Murphy was talking about gay people, and nobody blinked the fucking eye. You know, I mean, of course, once again, if you watch it through today's standards, you watch it through today's, no one was trying to take Eddie Murphy's career after, you know, that was the time, like, when he's doing 48 Hours, and he's doing Beverly Hills Cop, and, you know, I think he was just fresh off of getting out of Saturday Night Live. Nobody was trying to take his career 30 years ago. But, you know, if you went into those fucking jokes today, people want to fucking, you know, they don't want you to never work in Hollywood again. So it's this incredible coincidence that, like, Dave Chappelle puts out stuff that's pushing the envelope, and Eddie Murphy, you know, is coming out of the, you know, is the dark horse. Maybe I'll put Eddie Murphy as number 5. You know, it's just, I just like, with Eddie Murphy, you know, he's only done the 2 specials. He's done Delirious and he's done Raw. But who knows, you know, he may come out next year. And, you know, and it was Eddie Murphy years ago that did the whole bit on Bill Cosby. He wasn't talking about Bill Cosby raping, but he was talking about how Bill Cosby, in the trying to be like a mentor to young comedians, would like call up comedians and tell them like they can't tell dirty, like they shouldn't do dirty jokes. You know, Eddie Murphy has a whole bit about how, you know, he finally got a call from Bill Cosby, and he was super excited because he saw Bill Cosby as a hero. And as soon as he gets on the phone, Bill Cosby is saying, "You cannot say filth and floor and filth." He goes, "I didn't say filth, floor, and filth. You cannot say fuck." And, you know, and that's a whole bit. And then, you know, in hindsight, you know, then we learn fucking Bill Cosby was a fucking rapist. And here's a guy who's such a fucking hypocrite that he's fucking drugging people and raping them. And then also, you know, at the same time, calling someone else and saying you can't say dirty words on stage. And it's not like he was saying them on TV. It wasn't, you know, you can't curse in theaters where people pay to see them. You know, during that time in the early 80s, if you were paying to see Eddie Murphy, you were going to go see Eddie Murphy. You knew what you were getting into. So, I love the kind of coincidence. I fucking how history's sort of repeating itself. And I think when Eddie Murphy comes out next year, like when he starts doing his Netflix special, I guarantee you, you know, and not that, you know, Dave Chappelle is a force of nature. He's not going anywhere. But, you know, he's gonna give Dave Chappelle a run for his money. He's gonna give Kevin Hart a run for his money. You know, he's gonna give, well, I mean, like, you know, well, Kevin Hart had that car accident. You know, after Kevin Hart and what's his face, Tracy Morgan. Like, look, just comedians, don't let your friends drive your car. Which I think Tracy Morgan was like in a limo or some shit like that. But, you know, it's a weird coincidence. Like, you know, when when you get to that level of celebrity, yeah, you're not going to drive yourself. You're going to have other people driving for you. But, you know, they both got into car accidents. And from what I understand, he's going to be all right. And, you know, and Kevin Hart was always, he always pushed how, like, active he is and stuff like that. He was in good health. You know what I'm saying? I mean, getting into the car accident doesn't help, but I mean, he took care of himself, you know, so it's good to see, you know, he's on the mend and stuff like that. But, you know, when Eddie Murphy comes out, you know, he's probably going to talk about Bill Cosby, you know, and, you know, he may talk about, you know, political correctness and stuff like that. You know, it's going to be really interesting to see what he does with that. Before we go to break, let's see, 2 more things I want to talk about. You know, we post this episode to SoundCloud, and this is something we were talking about before the episode. It's always a pain in the ass when you post to SoundCloud, and there's obviously SoundCloud has become, you know, this beacon of hope for SoundCloud rappers, and there's people who've been discovered on SoundCloud. So the minute I post the podcast up on SoundCloud, I'll get an email, I'll get a message saying, and it's always the same robotic fucking thing. Hey, I really liked your track. Because I guess they're so used to people putting up like independent rappers putting tracks on, you know, check out my page. And it's always, you know, it's either someone trying to run like a record company or you know, if you send us, you know, $30, we'll get you 3,000 followers on SoundCloud, and, you know, make you, you know, it's like everything. YouTube has a thing we can pay for YouTube followers. You know, I'm pretty sure there's some version of that for podcasts, you know, and now, you know, SoundCloud, you know, you could pay for. So it's so frustrating when you post something on SoundCloud, because it's sort of like, you know, yeah, you have actual fans who may post and stuff like that, but then you get these fucking automated general, you know, hey, I really liked your track, or you know, you got some talent, and like, motherfucker, we posted a fucking 2-hour podcast. We didn't post some fucking mumblecore rap, you know, and of course, the minute you fucking put that up, you know, you get those fucking notifications. It's so annoying. And so we'll be coming up on our SoundCloud anniversary. So, and it's funny, it always comes right around Comic-Con. Like, the time I don't need, I want that money for me. I want to go to Comic-Con and use that money to buy useless shit. I don't want to pay for fucking hosting fees, but and one last thing before we go to break. And I had posted about this on Facebook. I had tried that Whopper. Have you seen the commercial for the Impossible Whopper at Burger King?
Yeah, I'm afraid after you told me how it tastes.
And like, you know, I said, you know, let me give it a shot. You know, I was hungry and I drove by, I saw Burger King. And I said, all right, let me try the Impossible Whopper. And, you know, the deal with that is it's a no meat patty. Everything from the patty is made with plants and shit. So then, as soon as I order the fucking thing, and this is, you know, when you order a Whopper, the first thing I do when I order this Impossible Whopper that has no meat products in it, the girl goes, do you want bacon or cheese on that?
Yeah.
Lady, you're defeating the whole fuck. I mean, I didn't say it to her, but I did laugh into the fucking thing. I said, no, thank you. And like, you're defeating. Now, of course, whatever fucking cheese they have at Burger King, that's obviously not fucking, that's not milk. That's got to be, you know, if there's milk, it's probably like, you know, 1% milk. 1% of the entire product is probably milk. And it's everything else is, you know, because that shit, you know, milk is supposed to go bad if you leave it out. You know, if you leave a Whopper out for a day, it's not like going to start stinking because the cheese is rotting. And then, you know, the bacon, I don't think, I mean, you could fake bacon, but, you know, but I don't think they use fake bacon. But, you know, it's like the minute I order something, do you want some animal products on this all vegetable thing? And I ate it, and it was not good. It really fucking tasted like pressed cardboard. You know, and I've tried those vegetarian burgers. I've tried the, you know, I mean, the ones they sell in the supermarket. I don't know the fucking names of them, but, you know, I've tried veggie burgers and stuff like that. And it's all, you know, it's all soy. And then what they do is, you know, they take the soy and then they put, like, enough chemicals. And it's funny, like, you think, oh, I'm eating vegetables, it's much healthier. No, they put so much fucking chemicals and so much salt and all this other shit in it to try to make it kind of taste like meat, that, you know, for what you're giving up for not eating meat, you're taking in just with fucking preservatives and shit, you know, to make it fake taste like meat, you know, and fake smoke grilled taste, you know. So I mean, it was, you know, a valiant attempt, and maybe one day there'll be a fast food place that can give us a decent tasting veggie burger. You know, they're calling it the Impossible Burger because, you know, whatever. But, you know, like I said, but it's just so fucking ironic that the minute I order it, the lady asks, do you want cheese or bacon on it? And I think with that, we'll be back with more dick and fart jokes.
This episode of Two Strangers, One Podcast is brought to you by Comics Etc. 1115 East Main and North Goodman at the Hungerford Building, door number 8. Find out more information at comicsetc.biz or like them on Facebook at facebook.com/comicsetc1.
Did you ever see a film at such a young age it left you traumatized with cinematic wounds? Necrophilia. It's a dead issue, man. Don't push it. Cinema Psyops is a weekly podcast documenting an ongoing experiment on the mind of an unwilling test subject.
No one should have to watch this movie.
Oh, no one should have to watch this?
No one should have to watch this movie.
Surprisingly, it's not a topic that a lot of people really want to tackle.
I'm shocked, prudes.
I know, really.
Right?
It's the next sexual frontier that no one wants to explore.
I am, in the most sincerest of senses, disappointed in you.
It takes a powerful goddess like Connie, jam her arm down the monster's throat and kill it. Oh, I'm still tripping out over that. Even as a kid, I was like, I gotta find a girl like that. Every week, I get a new look of disappointment that I never thought I could get out of it.
Unimaginable. At 12 years old, you should not be watching this movie.
Obviously.
At 13, you should not be. 14, you shouldn't be. I'm not entirely sure even 17-year-olds should be watching this movie.
Just because you're offended by something doesn't mean that you have the right to demand that it doesn't exist. Watching this film again, I had all of this like little nerd glee with everything that kept
little
popping
history
up.
all popping up
absolutely.
at you.
So I totally loved this film.
Hey, I know why you couldn't see that. It's because your brain's warped watching this shit at 12 years old.
Yeah, this is a rough movie. I told you ahead of time when we were getting ready to do it that it was going to be a rough.
How did you watch this shit at 12?
Because physical wounds heal, cinematic ones don't. Listen to Cinema Psyops.
And we're back. All right, Paul. And this is something I'll probably play in the intro to the podcast. So if you're listening, you probably heard it already. There was unreleased footage released on YouTube. I love it because it was something exclusive to the Avengers Endgame box set. And it was a scene from the original Iron Man 1. You know, and it's funny, you know, when they made Iron Man, they were not anticipating this turning into a whole cinematic universe. Kevin Feige, who once again, like I said, Kevin Feige has been involved in Marvel movies since the first X-Men movies back in 2000 or 2001. So Kevin Feige's always had some sort of hand or role in all these Marvel movies that and I don't know if he was involved with Blade, but I think he was. Long story short, the guy, he's had his hands in this for 20 years now. So even before, back in 2008 or 2008, yeah, when Iron Man came out, when Sony, and it's funny, we're talking about this now where, last episode we were talking about how, Sony and Disney aren't getting along. But I mean, at that particular time, Sony owned Spider-Man and Spider-Man wasn't fucking going anywhere. Sony had their fucking iron grip on Spider-Man. Fox had its iron grip on the word mutant. You could not use the word mutant in any other. Disney couldn't use it. Paramount couldn't use it. Sony couldn't use it. Fox exclusively owned the rights to the term mutant. So there is this scene where it's Nick Fury, and of course, he's not hiding, but he's kind of standing in shadows, waiting for Tony Stark to come into the room as he does, because that's how, Nick Fury is sort of badass like that. And so he goes, I have to deal with gamma irradiated monsters. And that was sort of they knew they were making, by the time they finished making Iron Man, they knew they were making the Hulk. So he goes, gamma irradiated monsters, radioactive spider bites, and various mutants. So in this scene that obviously hit the cutting room floor because, one, they couldn't have used it at the time because they didn't own the word, they couldn't use the word mutant. And Kevin Feige had enough foresight and forethought of hoping that we'd be able to merge the universes where, we can't have a Spider-Man in one of, these movies, and we can have the X-Men. Because when you say mutants, yes, of course there's a million different mutants in the Marvel universe, but when you say mutants, you mean X-Men. let's not fucking mince words here. So Kevin Feige is such a fucking genius that he had Samuel L. Jackson read those lines, recorded the scene, and it's been unearthed, and like I said, they're gonna put it on the Endgame. And it's kind of sad that like Disney hadn't moved on Fox earlier, where maybe we could have had, an X-Man, one of the X-Men in Endgame or something like that. But then again, that kind of, leaving that door open for all these movies that are going to happen after Endgame. We'll have plenty of time to address mutants. We have plenty of time to address Fantastic Four and all this other shit. I think it's fucking awesome. Once again, Kevin Feige is a fucking genius. He's given us all these great fucking movies. He's had his hand in it. And of course, he doesn't like tell people what to do. He sort of helps guide. He helps guide the movies into the universe that it's become. And and it's funny because even like the other day, I watched the first Avenger, Captain America 1, and I'll be honest with you, that was. When I first saw it, that was not my most favorite Marvel movie. I'm saying? I'll probably say one of my least liked Marvel movies. But when you watch it now and you see like the Red Skull and spoiler alert, Red Skull comes back in Endgame. And when you see like, when you learn more about Bucky, when in the first movie, obviously Bucky's an important character, people who know about Captain America. But like at that particular time, you didn't realize how much Bucky was going to be part of the universe. So at that time, what I thought was a throwaway character, not throwaway because I know he comes back, but before we even learned the term Winter Soldier, I didn't give a shit about Bucky at that particular time and watching that movie. I didn't care. I didn't care about Agent Carter. I didn't care about Red Skull. I was interested. I was happy to see it, and I was glad to see Captain America in a movie. But like those characters were all fleshed out in other movies later on, based on the performances given in the first movie, where it makes you appreciate the first movie. Like watching Captain America: The First Avenger now, I'm seeing it with different eyes, and I'm actually like, holy shit, this is a really good fucking movie. And it's funny because at the time it came out, I didn't give a shit about half of the characters in the movie. But like I said, as the other movies sort of gave life to those characters, Agent Carter had her own series. The second movie was called Winter Soldier. Like I said, Red Skull comes back in it comes back in Endgame. And then also knowing what happens to Captain America at the end of Endgame. It's sort of like, all these little seeds were kind of planted. Or even if you went back and not necessarily they were planning, it wasn't like when they made Captain America, they were planning to have have an Agent Carter series. They weren't planning to have, a Winter Soldier movie. But how, they could take little things from those movies and flesh them out and make the universe as it is. So, and even like, when they find the Tesseract and they see like, the Tree of Life, which is something, taken from the Thor movies. So I don't know. Kevin Feige's a fucking genius, and like I said, I'll probably play that clip in the beginning of the episode.
Of course you will.
Speaking of Spider-Man, execs at Sony has said pretty much that negotiations are done, over and complete. But then the guy
for now.
Then exactly, he threw in those two hopeful words for now. I think it's a negotiation tactic. The same way Disney fired James Gunn for the tweets from 20 fucking years ago, or 10 years ago, excuse me. I think Sony may want to play ball, but they're kind of, they're fucking with Disney.
Well,
the ball's in your court. You can do what the fuck you want.
So the latest rumor on that, which I've seen some sites say this, so I think it might be somewhat of a legitimate rumor, but I'm not sure. I guess Sony had said something recently about like a 30% stake with, God, there's a lot of cars that go by your house. So a 30% stake in Spider-Man, getting money in the movie, and then Spider-Man and Venom would be in the MCU. So it's just a rumor right now, so I don't know if you want to take that with just a grain of salt, but there was also this other rumor, which is, I don't even think it's possible. I put it out on Twitter, and some people were like, "Oh, is this serious?" And I'm like, "No, that's why I put a question mark." Mm-hmm. Like, apparently Apple's looking at Spider-Man's, is looking at like, Sony, and possibly thinking of like doing like Disney did with Fox and try to buy them. Mm-hmm. But
yeah, I had seen that also. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, and there's this rumor that in the Spider-Man contract, basically, if somebody buys out Sony, that it reverts back to Spider-Man. I've heard that before, so I don't...
You mean it reverts back to Marvel?
Yeah. So okay. I don't know if that... I don't think that one's true. But, definitely I can see Apple trying to go into different directions, trying to figure out what they can buy, too, because Disney... Honestly, like, Disney... I'm going to be buying Disney Plus when it comes out. Like...
Oh, yeah.
It's got like,
all the
like,
Saturday morning cartoons.
DuckTales. Well, I'm not a huge fan of DuckTales. I did watch it, but I was more of like Darkwing Duck. Is going to be on there. Tailspin. Oh my God, Tailspin. Apparently, and I don't know this for sure, but Gargoyles might be on there. And then for you, remember the '90s Iron Man series, Fantastic Four, which is wonderful, or should I say, fantastic. Mm-hmm. I
think it's the original X-Men cartoon also.
Yeah, they're all gonna be on there. I'm like, I'm in heaven. I'm fucking getting this shit. I'm gonna get that bundle, because if you get Disney Plus, Hulu, and that ESPN Plus all together, mm-hmm. you get it's $12.99. Dude, that's the price of, that's 3 for the price of like Netflix.
Yeah.
So like, I'm like, dude, I'm sold. Fuck that. So honestly, like, they're hitting out of the park. But getting back to Spider-Man, that if it's true, which I don't think it is, that maybe Apple's looking at trying to get Sony's catalogs. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that might be why Disney's like, no, we can wait and see what happens.
Yeah, on a totally unrelated topic, like, if Apple bought Sony, oh no, I'm sorry, I think I'm oops. For some reason, I was thinking Samsung. I was like, Tony, Apple can't buy Samsung. But yeah, if they bought Sony, they're big enough. But also, is Sony trying to be for sale? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think Sony's not hurting, or at least not hurting to the point where they're asking to be sold. They're not looking at, anyone want to buy us? I think they're doing. They're not doing great. They're not doing as good as they used to. But I don't think Sony's not in the market to be bought. You know what I'm saying?
True.
Unless Apple wants to do like a hostile takeover.
Well, what you gotta keep in mind too, and again, I don't know if when Disney bought Fox, if that included overseas, but usually these deals involve just the U.S. market. So again, even if Sony were to be bought, it might be just bought here in the United States or North America. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So keep that in mind. But again, it's going to be interesting to see how Spider-Man goes forward here. I mean, based on what I heard what the third one was going to be, like, it really doesn't matter if he's in the MCU right now, because it was just going to be all about Spider-Man. So, you know, I'm kind of like, well, okay, the next film, if it really is what it is, you know, and maybe this might be another Spider-Man 2, so to speak, where, like, you know, we get to hear more about, or we get to see more about him. And again, that's, like I was saying before, I'm I'm really excited about the possibility of having maybe at least Tobey Maguire come in and kind of give him another perspective on another Spider-Man. And you can see, here's the thing, like, you can connect that into the MCU in the sense that, you know, if it's true that the Doctor Strange movie is going to be where he kind of opens up this,
the multiverse.
you know, the multiverse kind of thing, like, then, you know, it definitely votes well for that happening, and you could still do that. So, you know, I'm really looking forward to seeing what's going to happen. Honestly, I really do hope that Sony and Marvel can come to an agreement, and I think they will now that everything's starting to calm down. Mm-hmm. But you know, we'll see.
Yeah, so. Like I said, I think it's a negotiation tactic. I think it's sort of, you know, you got to draw the line in the sand and say, you know, we're not going to let you just take advantage of us, and then, you know. But it's, you know, once again, they'd be shooting themselves in the foot if they decide to reboot fucking Spider-Man again. You know, I think they pissed off a lot of people. You know, I think.
Dude, I told you, it's basically, I honestly don't think they care about the live action right at the moment. I think they care about the animated version because it did so well in theaters. So I personally think that they're going to be you're going to see a lot of concentration on that animation part because it did so well. So we'll see. And I think that's maybe what the holdup was. But again, we'll see what happens, you know? So
Gotcha. All right. So, have you seen at all the Wu-Tang TV show on Hulu?
No.
I've only seen the first 2 episodes. I think it's only 3 episodes out so far. But there's a Wu-Tang TV show. What is it called? Like a Wu-Tang Legacy or some shit like that. But like not you know, Wu-Tang as in the Wu-Tang Clan, the rap group, kind of telling their, it's called Wu-Tang: An American Saga. Now, I think obviously this kind of is riding the rails of a, you know, what was the Boys? Was it not Boys in the Hood? What the hell am I thinking? The NWA movie. Was it just called the NWA? What was it called? The NWA movie, Straight Outta Compton? I think it was. Yeah. So.
Yes.
I think, yeah. It's so, and of course, you know, hip hop has, you know, a huge chunk of American culture. You know, there are people who, you know, who are young enough where they don't remember a time before hip hop. You know, they don't remember, like, you know, or they don't, you know, they don't remember a time before Wu-Tang, or they don't remember a time before NWA. And I've been watching it, and it's not a bad show. And it's really interesting to see, like, the characters. But once again, if it's in the same vein of a Straight Outta Compton, it's a fucking rewrite of history. You know, it's one of those deals where, like, you know, obviously the people involved in the show and the, you know, the characters, you know, we get to see young Method Man, young RZA, young Raekwon. I'm trying to think of this one. I mean, I know there's a bunch, but I mean, they haven't introduced every single member of the Wu-Tang yet. But it's like RZA, Method Man, Raekwon. I'm trying to remember if there's anyone else. But obviously, like, you know, you're not going to show them being punked out. They're not going to show them, you know, like, you know, they're never going to make the bad decision. And it's like, it's obviously such fucking, you know, revisionist history where, you know, all of a sudden, you know, nobody's a bad guy and nobody, you know, or I did something wrong, but then later on I did something good and it helped balance it out or stuff like that. You know, so it's not bad. The only other, like, one of my complaints about the show is that obviously whoever wrote this show, or whoever, you know, the showrunners, they watched a lot of The Wire on HBO. And I watched The Wire, and I watched every season I watched every single episode of The Wire. And obviously, look, I obviously was not slinging crack in the early 90s in Staten Island. Nor was I slinging crack in Baltimore in the early 2000s when The Wire took place. That being said, like, guys like Wu-Tang, you know, I went to school in Brooklyn. I hung out in Brooklyn. I hung out in Queens. You know, I didn't go to Staten Island too much. So it's one of those deals where they're borrowing a lot from The Wire. And I think, obviously, these are probably white people in Hollywood who never really knew a real drug dealer or never knew a real, you know, and they're taking so much of that aesthetic and bringing it, and it shit, it doesn't, and once again, I wasn't slinging crack in the 90s, but I hung out with people whose older brothers did, and I went to school in Fort Greene, Brooklyn, and this is like right before Giuliani cleaned up New York. I've hung out in rough fucking neighborhoods, and the shit that goes on in the show, once again, obviously it's telling a story, it's telling a narrative loosely based on reality. But it's sort of like, forget that The Wire exists. Stop stealing so much from The Wire and let this, because the stories are pretty interesting. Like I said, I've watched 2 episodes so far. I think once again, there's only 3 episodes out if I'm not mistaken, but it's interesting and it's good. And I understand where they're going with it. And I get what they're going with. Like also like, just like stop fucking cut and pasting, Wire scripts into this story. The story's going to be good enough on its own. They don't need to borrow and use the shorthand of The Wire. All right. Oh, here's something that right up your alley. The new season 4 of My Hero Academia comes out October 12th. It's going to be simulcast.
Are you into that show now?
Oh yeah. I'm watching it, and I've watched it on Hulu. I'll be honest with you, I'm still in season 2, but I'm like at the end of season 2. But I'm pretty sure by the time Comic-Con comes around, by the time October 12th comes around, I will have watched season 3. So that's
actually have season 3 on Blu-ray actually here in the house.
And speaking of holy shit, if you're not watching Cannon Busters, I won't say not for you, but I mean for the listeners of the show, I am so fucking loving Cannon Busters. It is such a good fucking show, and and I was lucky, and I'm not saying this because I interviewed LaShawn Thomas, one of the creators, the creator of the show and showrunner, and it was so funny like interviewing him back then because he was such a cool, calm, chilled guy or whatever. And I don't know. I think now that I'm saying this, I think I might have mentioned this in the last episode, but I'm reiterating. Watch fucking Cannon Busters on Netflix, because I haven't gotten through the whole season because I watch my shows in like weird, my schedule is sort of weird, but I try to watch one show of all the shows that I like in a day, if that makes any sense.
Right.
So, I don't binge, what I'm saying? I don't, Cannon Busters is good, but I don't want to watch 12 episodes in a row or 10, however many episodes it is. But I enjoy it, and I'm really fucking enjoying it. And I love how this show, for all intents and purposes, was made by an American. What I'm saying? Right. I mean, I think it was animated overseas, but he has caught the feel and the taste and the fucking of everything that is anime. And then the weird dude, even the funny thing is, because I watch TV with the subtitles on because I'm fucking half deaf, so the dubs and the subs don't match up, and I love it. I think this show was fucking made in America. But there's subs, and I'm pretty sure it was dubbed into Japanese, because obviously people who like the show, if I enjoy it, and I'm barely an anime fan, I'm pretty sure people in Japan love it also. But, I mean, it captures the heart and feel of anime, even though, for all intents and purposes, it wasn't, it has zero roots in China and Japan. So, but I'm digging it. I'm digging it so fucking much, and I hope it gets 10 more fucking seasons, because I'm fucking loving it. It's very stylized, it's funny, it's entertaining, it's got its action. And, I would say that, what's his face? Spike Spiegel has he's going to run for his money for who's the coolest character in fucking anime. No offense to Steve Blum. And I've noticed that I believe they're gearing up right now to start filming the live action, Cowboy Bebop. So,
yeah, they are.
Yeah. And so like they have, John Cho, guy from Harold and Kumar, Go to White Castle. He's going to be Spike Spiegel. So, I know a lot of the fans are like, are adding Steve Blum on Twitter and stuff like that. I don't know, he hasn't said anything about it, but, the creators of the show would be shooting themselves in the foot if they don't give him a cameo. They got to give him something. You know what I'm saying? You can't, the guy's still around, the guy's still active, the guy still is very known in the community, and I don't think it would be disrespectful, in my opinion, if they don't give him a fucking walk-on role. Give him something. But, all right. So, 2 more things, before we sign out. The Spirit of Halloween, I think is the names of those stores. Here we are. It's not it's just about halfway through September, but the Spirit of Halloween stores have already started. My daughter had asked me already, and I love it because it's called the Spirit of Halloween, but my daughter, ever since she was little, always called it the Skeleton Store. But like now she knows the proper name, but she goes, "What's the name of that store that I used to call the Skeleton Store?" Like now she's old enough to know that she used to call it a different wrong name. She goes, "What's the name of that store? Is it the Spirit of Halloween?" She goes, "Yeah, can we go?" And so of course we had to go to the Spirit of Halloween store. it's weird. The one there's usually one in Greece and Rock, and well, you're not just talking local shit. And it's like now there's like a Home Goods there where they said so they opened it up in fucking Brockport. And for those who don't know, like I had to drive like 25 minutes out of the way.
There is one in Greece actually.
Oh, there is one.
Yeah. So the old Sears building is gonna have it actually.
Oh, they just haven't opened it yet.
Yep.
Oh, okay. Because I know there's the one in Henrietta, but that one's always there, and that one's by the where they usually open up the haunted house. So we'll be waiting for that. And it's like there's always that one in Henrietta. I said let's give that one in Brockport a shot. So I literally we drove an extra 25 minutes in one direction to go to this fucking place. But then the weird thing is you forget that Brockport is in the fucking sticks. That they were like religious protesters, and they weren't outside the Spirit of Halloween, but they were like a block away from the Spirit of Halloween. And I'm wondering were they what the fuck were they I don't know what they were protesting, but it was one of those things where people standing outside with signs like, Jesus is our savior and shit like that. And I was like, what the fuck is this about? You know what I'm saying? But, so it's that time of year where we go visit the skeleton store. And, I like Halloween. I'm not a pumpkin spice person or anything like that, but I do like this time of year. I like Halloween in general, just dressing up and, I love that, both Comic-Con and Halloween are both in the same month. So this kind of has that same energy of, having fun and dressing up and cosplay and all that other good shit. I mean, not that I ever cosplay, but, I don't think, even I'm like, oh, what can I wear on Halloween and stuff like that. So, super looking forward to that. And I guess my last bit of news is just the death of Rick Ocasek from the Cars, and I'll give you just what I needed. It's the Cars, and I like there's this video. You might think I'm crazy, but all I want is you. I mean, and I'm not doing the song any justice, but
you're losing it. I got it.
It was a video in the 80s that was very. I mean, it was using computer effects way before. When our cell phone is 10 times the power of the computers they had back in those days, and for the time it was a fucking groundbreaking video for them, and it's a very trippy video, and actually it's funny once again how things change with time. If you watch the video now, he's very stalkery. he's very much being a fucking stalker through the video. And he's following this girl around and all this other stuff, and but then again, I think they also kind of portray that she's also maybe kind of dreaming of him at the same time, so it doesn't seem that fucking creepy, but he's doing a lot of stuff, he's following her around a little too much, and once again, it's when you watch it, and back in the 80s, it was just fine, hey, a guy loved a woman, but then now you watch it through, the 2019 spectrum, that guy's a fucking stalker, and he needs to be stopped, and, privilege, and all this other shit. So, anything, you'd like to address before we call it a night?
No, I'm good for right now.
I can't believe we're actually not hitting the 2-hour mark this episode. Please visit twostrangersonepodcast.net where you can find all things show related. You can find links to our iTunes page. So if you have an iPhone, an iPad, or iPod, you can find links to us on iTunes, or you just subscribe to us there. If you don't have any of those devices, you can find us on the Stitcher app. That's the one I use all the time. That's STITCHER, the Stitcher app for Android devices. And iOS devices also, but I'm just so used to saying Android devices. And of course, and what I do is when I use Stitcher, I put it on Listen Later and available offline, so I could download it. I mean, I pretty much listen to podcasts all the time now since I work from home, but I put them to Listen Later and available offline, so when I'm out and about, I'm not killing my battery or my data downloading them. I get them while I'm in a Wi-Fi spot, and I can listen to them while I'm driving around. If you want to use, or you could go directly to our main source, SoundCloud. I had mentioned that earlier, our main hosting site, SoundCloud. If you want to put that app on your phone, I do make the episodes available for download.
I don't want to put it on my phone.
Well, you could if you wanted to. I mean, if you don't, whatever other app you don't, even if you don't want to subscribe and put yourself on an app, you can go and just get it off the SoundCloud app.
Yeah.
If you want. What do you got against SoundCloud? They're a hosting site, for goddamn.
I'm just being an ass. It's fine.
They're not raking us over the coals like Podomatic did.
Oh god. Well, that's true.
Yeah. So they're and I'm so. I mean, I guess they're making so much money off of these mumblecore rap, and thank God they haven't. And I think they hit that bubble. I don't think SoundCloud will ever go up significantly, because right now, if I'm not mistaken, and I could just this is all available online. I think we pay $120 a year. Just about. And I don't think, they'll never, jump up to $200. That bubble with the rappers, that bubble has, I don't think we're not going to find out any new rappers from SoundCloud. I think that's that novelty has sort of worn off and stuff like that. So no more little Yachty's and little Zans and little this and little that and mumblecore guys with tattoos on their faces. All of those guys, no one's discovering anybody on SoundCloud anymore. That's just my opinion. So it's not like, and I'm really surprised when that bubble was going up. I'm really surprised SoundCloud didn't say, you know what, fuck you, now it's $200 a year or something like that, because they could have and they would have gotten it. Once again, still cheaper than Podomatic. So you can find us on SoundCloud. If you want to write to the show, like a super fan Oscar used to write to the show, I don't know, he must have fell off the face of the earth. You can write to us at twostrangersonepodcast@gmail.com. I checked before the episode, he didn't write anything, nor has anybody else.
Bastard.
We want your money. We need your money. But until then, you can share and like us on Facebook. Just to go to facebook.com/twostrangersonepodcast. Like this episode, share this episode, like the page, share the page on your page. Once again, it takes 2 seconds to do it, and helps get the word out. And we're on Twitter. We're on Twitter at Stranger Podcast. That's basically just a rehash of our Facebook page. We have a Two Strangers on a Podcast network group, and that's the name of it, Two Strangers on a Podcast network. And then all the episodes that are not on SoundCloud, you could go back and listen to 7.5 years worth of Two Strangers on a Podcast. The episodes that are not on SoundCloud are on YouTube. Just go on YouTube, search for Two Strangers, One Podcast. You can find my Stranger Vlogs. You can find my audiobook, Odd I See Itself on the Road. You can hear my electronic music under the name XLNYC. It's all under Two Strangers, One Podcast. And now that I got like a halfway decent looking camera. Now see, that's the problem. I got a halfway decent looking camera, a camera that takes good looking pictures, but I'm an ugly motherfucker. So like I can
attest to that.
I can film myself and it looks beautifully, wonderfully clear. I'm just an ugly person to look at, but I might be motivated to start making more Stranger Vlogs now that I have this beautiful camera to accentuate all the hair popping out of my face and see every pore of my skin and every sag and every wrinkle of my face. I might start making some more Stranger Vlogs because it's a beautiful fucking and I've looked it up how to use it as a vlogging camera and stuff like that. So maybe we'll start. I'm waiting for the right thing to inspire me. I need something I could really fucking rant on. And it's like I think when the time it hits me, I'm never right here sitting in front of the computer. And like I write it down, but then later on you kind of lose the energy. So I guarantee you that I'll probably do a Stranger Vlog soon. I'm just waiting for the right fucking fuel to piss me off. So you can find all that on YouTube. Just search for Two Strangers Podcast. And I forgot to mention that on the Stitcher app, you can find Paul's other baby, the Tanami Faithful Podcast.
You little bastard.
Yeah, and we'll be once again we're gearing up for New York Comic Con, and Matt's coming again this year. Unfortunately, a friend of the show, John Galbo, is not coming this year. He's publicly announced that he's not coming.
He's a bastard too.
Yeah, he said he's not going to Comic Con. What the hell was that? Holy shit.
What?
I heard a weird boop boop noise.
Oh, I have no idea.
So he's ended one of his podcasts that he does is called the Adventure Club Podcast. He has ended. He's announced he's not going to Comic-Con. And but I think they mentioned it on the last episode. He went for the gastric bypass surgery. So I mean, he's said it. He's had diabetes. I think he's had diabetes his whole life or something like that. So something like this will hopefully work for him. We wish him the best. I mean, he's still technically on the mend because after the surgery you still go for about 6 weeks because when they cut into your stomach, they cut to the muscle. You kind of have to go not on bed rest, but they kind of tell you to kind of chill out with any kind of activity for about 6 weeks. So he's on the mend right now. Of course, we wish him all the best. But I don't think that's the last we're hearing from him because he had mentioned about thinking about starting another podcast, but I'm not gonna. That's his announcement to make, not mine. But once again, that's not. I don't think that's the end of John Galbo. I kind of missed going with him because he's part of the tradition. I would see him every year, and now he's not going this year. And and it was with him that I was able to meet Dana Snyder, the voice of Master Shake from Aqua Teen Hunger Force, and it was with John Galbo where we were both. He just got out of the bathroom when what's his face? Andy Serkis just went into the bathroom. We were back in the press area, and he's like, and I'm like, dude, Andy Serkis just went to the bathroom, and he just came out of the bathroom, and John Galbo just waited another 30 seconons or whatever. Had someone just been in the way to use the sink or something like that, he probably would have met Andy Serkis in the bathroom. So much love to him. And once again, I'm sorry, I acquiesced to 40, sir.
God, you always take so fucking long. Jesus Christ. You act like this is your Oh, wait a minute. So you can find me on Twitter at Paul Pascrillo. You can email me, paulpascrillo@TsunamiFaithful.com. I always make the joke that, well, Oscar has found me, so you can find me too. So there you go. And a couple little announcements. I'm probably going to be getting an apartment soon, so there's that. And then we announced the other day that we're starting a new podcast. I won't be on it that much, if at all, but it's for the anime series Demon Slayer. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you've seen it, Chris, but it's got some beautiful animation to it. So it hasn't. The English dub is coming on Toonami next month, but
cool.
What the hell are you watching? Jesus Christ!
I got a notification on my phone, and sorry about that. It just went right into fucking Facebook video. I'm sorry about that. My apologies.
You little fucking bastard. Jesus Christ. Anyways. So, yeah, that's about it. So, look for that new podcast, and yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, we'll give it a shout out when all the first episodes come out. All right, so we certainly hope you guys enjoyed listening and had as much fun as we did recording. Thank you for listening to Two Strangers One Podcast. I'm Chris.
I'm Paul.
Don't be a stranger.
Peace. We're out.
Bye. You should be happy.
Oh, Chris, not on the cat.
All right, here we go, man. Go ahead. You want to read
Double Jackpot.
What is it?
It is a self-published book by Christopher Cologne.
Chris Cologne? Smells good to me.
But
look at her. That broke that fucking cold little exterior. He's like, hee.
But it is spelled Colon.
Him punny.
But Double Jackpot is a book about a comic book artist, Eric, who is in a loveless relationship with a materialistic
I feel you, Eric.
Lynette.
Oh, fucking. Are you sure I didn't write this? Sounds hauntingly familiar.
He starts cheating on his girlfriend with a more creatively supportive woman, Nadia.
Well, I gotta meet her. Where's the Nadia?
There's your summer girlfriend.
Summer Nadia is Nadia.
Nadia?
Yeah, I think Nadia is spelled with an A.
All right.
Both Lynette and Nadia play the double jackpot, the largest payout in lotto history, much like the recent Powerball. Both girls play his birth date as the winning numbers. Eric is now stuck between two of the country's richest women. Who will he choose? It's not that simple. This is a clever fucking idea, man.
Is.
Look at her, fucking. She's impressed.
I am.
She got some summer reading. Christopher Cologne smells real lovely with an original idea. This is. I've never heard this before.
I haven't either. This is a self-published book, much in the indie spirit as Kev's Clerks.
Oh, you don't even need to name check me. This is just a good idea. You could stand on your own, man. You don't even have to be like, hey, remember Clerks? This is nothing like that. This is way more original than Clerks. This is a good idea, man. Why didn't I think of this?
I need something to read. This book is part of the Comic Books, Heavy Metal, Video Games Trilogy Book 2. Odd I See, A Tale from the Road, coming soon.
Right on, man. It's part of a trilogy. This is the first part.
Way to write, man.
He's seeking a literary agent. Motherfuckers, anybody out there? There ain't no literary agents listening to this show, I assure you, sure. Sure. I assure you, sure. But somebody know a literary agent? Hook a motherfucker up! Chris Cologne come up with an original idea. I should tell Raskin. That's a good fucking idea, to be honest with you. That's a fucking rom-com right there. Megan, get Raskin on the phone. Isn't it possible to get Raskin on the phone? No?
Yeah.
I want to run it past him, man. I want to, and if it happens, I get a taste, Chris Cologne. I get a whiff, if you will.
The book could also be ordered on www.lulu.com.
That's lulu.com.
I understand that. I just want to spell it out.
Normally one says it, that spells it. Still, lulu.com. What is that? Do you know what it is?
I don't know. All right. The book could also be ordered on www.lulu.com. Search for Double Jackpot Christopher Cologne. A paperback version of the book is $15 and a PDF file is only $5.
$5 is
Yeah.
insanely inexpensive. 15 is not even that bad for a paperback version.
No.
This is $1 million idea right here. Like a movie about a dude who fucking is stuck between two chicks, both of who play his birthday and win the lottery. Come on! I can see that trailer. Chris Cologne is on to something. Nobody else can smell it but me.
I'll read it.
Thank you. I'm going to make that smelly joke.
I know. You're trying to get me to laugh again.
It worked once. Double Jackpot is a self-published book by Chris Cologne, man. It's the first book in his comic books, heavy metal, video games trilogy. Book 2, Odd I See, A Tale from the Road, should be coming out soon. Get all the information at Chris Cologne, like a motherfucker.
I
and
will
his
totally
book,
read this.
Double Jackpot. I'm serious. I'm going to recommend that to fucking Raskin. How is that not a movie? You know what I'm saying? This could be a sexy movie. You could do an R-rated version. There could be nudie in it, and you could saw them fucking both chicks. Maybe a little penetration. Maybe a butthole shot. No butthole, no care.
I would like to formally apologize to Christopher Cologne right now.
No, sex sells. Chris Cologne will appreciate that. He's like, thanks for throwing a few buttholes in there, man.
Don't forget to check out twostrangersonepodcast.net, your one-stop resource for everything show-related. You can find links to subscribe to us on iTunes or on Stitcher. You could also find links to buy my book, Double Jackpot, on twostrangersonepodcast.net.
Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. You're cool. And fuck you, I'm out.